All right, so there are multiple ways to start coding with JavaScript. You can imagine that you want to play a bit with different methods, data structures, stuff like that. You can of course play with your Codeflex project. Yeah, so you got the React component, so you can play with it. Yeah, to me that's probably not the easiest way of playing with JavaScript. At the end of the day, JavaScript runs on a web browser. Yeah. So is there a way to run JavaScript directly on the web browser without using Visual Studio Code in a very simplistic way? Yes, there is. Do you remember DevTools? I presented DevTools yesterday, yeah, a way to change the CSS, the HTML. So with DevTools, we can also play with JavaScript, unsurprisingly. So how do we do that? First of all, open a new tab in your browser, right-click anywhere, inspect. That's essentially what you did yesterday. And then you got many tabs and stuff here. My first suggestion is, if you want to play with JavaScript, maximize DevTools to get more space. How do you maximize DevTools? You see the three dots, then you undock DevTools into a separate window, and then boom, you get full screen DevTools. Yeah? So once you got that, the next step is finding the sources tab. You see, you got elements as the first one. You'll find out something called sources. In my case, it's the third tab, but probably that's because I rearranged them at some point. So this is not necessarily the third tab. Yes, find sources. And then once you find sources, I believe by default you'll get on the left-hand side something called page or snippets. I'm not sure. No, not the snippets, probably page or file system. I don't know what's your default. Guys, can anybody tell me what's the default view snippet?
Depends on the width.
Yeah,
Depends on the width of the
but page and not the snippets.
Okay, but okay, cool. All right, cool. Fantastic. You're right. Because they are short. Anyway, so if you get, you may get all the options available. If not, if you get something like that, essentially make sure you click on the right arrow and select snippets. So once you select a snippet, you can create a new snippet. So a snippet is just a piece of JavaScript code. That's it. Okay? That's it. So let's create a new snippet. You see, plus new snippet, and let's provide a meaningful name like intro to JavaScript. So now on the right-hand side, we can close that panel, hide navigator panel. We don't need it anymore. So here we can finally write some JavaScript. So let me tell you a hint. Before running any JavaScript snippet, do the following. Open and close curly braces. I'm not going to explain why now. We will see that between the 7th and the 8th week of the bootcamp. This is about scoping. Okay? But just do it once. When you create a new snippet, in DevTools, surround your magic with curly braces, for now. So once you got that, let's play a bit with JavaScript. So first of all, on top of the screen, I can do some coding. At the bottom, I got the output, the result. So with JavaScript, you can do things like displaying a console log. Console.log, hello JavaScript. Yeah? So console.log will display a log message eventually at the bottom. Yeah? Remember, when you change something, you see the tiny star here? That means what? Correct, you need to say the snippet, everyone. Yeah? So how do I run the snippet? Easy peasy. You see that button here? Just click there, and then you got the hello JavaScript message. Yeah? Because you'll be playing this button many times, I would recommend you guys to use the shortcut, which is Command Enter if you are a Mac user, or Control Enter if you are a Windows user. It's easy, right? So if I change something, save, Command Enter, boom, I got the output. Yeah? So that's the most fundamental data structure the most fundamental way of dealing with snippets in Google DevTools. So whenever you want to play with any asset and you'll come across that problem almost on a daily basis, to me personally, this is my favorite way of coding, of playing, of testing, of analyzing. Yeah? We'll talk about many advanced use cases scenarios like breakpoints, debugging, things like that. Also, let me alert you that even though historically speaking, Google Chrome has played really well with the snippets, within the last couple of years, it started to fail a lot. Sometimes it's just a matter of time. You will see that dev tools won't work as expected. We will see how to debug issues with dev tools, yeah, because that may happen in a job interview, yeah. So it's good to have the ability to deal with Google Chrome issues. But hopefully for today, because we're going to talk about basic stuff, it should be okay. So first of all, let's talk about variables, or actually, yeah, let's talk about variables. So do you know how to create a variable in JavaScript? Let, correct. So I can do let x equals 7, and then I can do let y equals 8, okay, two variables, right? So then I can do console.log, the result is x plus y, okay, something like that. The result is 15. Yeah? So that's the way you deal with variables. You may come across other ways of creating variables, like var or const. We'll talk about this within the next weeks. But the most popular one, the one you should start using today, is let, firstly introduced in 2015. Okay? So that's the way you can create variables. So can anybody tell me what type of variables x and y are? Numbers, that's correct. Yeah? Numbers is obviously very important data type in JavaScript. So apart from numbers, obviously we got other data types like strings. Let message equals hello Minji. Yeah? Message is a string, so I can do console.log. The message is. You can do something like that. Yeah? Strings. Very important data type. Also, booleans, true or false. Yeah. So I can say, am I sexy equals false. So then I can ask myself, am I sexy? And then, am I sexy? Something like that. Yeah. True or false. Booleans have two states. More data structures. So probably numbers, strings, and booleans, these three are probably the most important ones when talking about primitives, the basics of JavaScript. But obviously things can get a bit more complicated. Does anybody know how can I display a list of fruits? Correct, Ebrima, within an array. Fruits equals, look at the syntax, guys, square brackets. Square brackets declare a new array. An array is a list, is a comma-separated list of things. For instance, apple, orange, and banana. Yep. So then I can do the list of fruits is, and then fruits. So if we run the snippet, you see the list of fruits is apple, orange, and banana. It's an array. By the way, when doing console logs, we can display a single message. You see, that's a single message. Or you can display a comma-separated list of messages. You see, I set a comma, and now, look, because the messages are individual, I can actually check the details of my array, because technically speaking, these are two different messages. So when talking about debugging and things like that, I personally prefer to use the comma. Yeah? Comma, 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 and then you can display different messages. Fruits, hello, Ian. Yep, different messages, and they are managed individual. Can anybody tell me how to get the size of the array? Dot length, correct. The size of the array is fruits dot length. Yeah, correct. And what if I want to get the first element? Zero, correct, guys. The first element, apple. Yeah. And what if I want to get the last one? Fruits of the length, y minus 1, Manji. Fantastic. Yeah, you get that? First index is 0, fruits of length will return free. What happens, guys, if I do that? If I forget to subtract -1, what will that return? The first element is what?
Undefined.
Correct, Adam. Correct. Adam is absolutely right. Yeah. Fruits of length is free. Yeah. Apple index 0, orange index 1, banana index 2, index 3 it doesn't exist. Yeah. So that will return, as Adam said, undefined. Yeah. So that's the way you deal with arrays. We will talk about arrays a lot. To me, I strongly believe arrays is one of the reasons why JavaScript is so powerful today. Arrays is the most powerful data structure in JavaScript. Once you start dealing with expert questions on the codity training, naturally speaking, you will realize, it's just a matter of time, that the best way to solve complex algorithms is by transforming whatever the data is, a string, a number, a boolean, into an array. Because there are so many powerful methods to manipulate arrays that it will simplify your life. Okay? You'll find out. You'll find out. Starting from 2011, not most of the efforts, but very important efforts were made in the JavaScript community to improve the power of arrays. And that's still happening. That's still happening today. You know that there is a new version of JavaScript every year, and every year, by the end, I think midsummer, end of July, the JavaScript community or the JavaScript organization. Do you remember, guys, who looks after JavaScript? ECMAScript, correct? ECMAScript is the standard. Yeah, it's the document explaining the features. The document telling you if you want to create a variable, please use let. If you want to display a message, please use console.log. Yeah, the specification, ECMAScript. But who creates ECMAScript? Someone writes that document, right? Who is that? The community. That's so very romantic. Mozilla, wrong.
I almost say Airbnb, it seems like the right answer.
No, it's not Airbnb. It's not Airbnb. It's not Airbnb. So ECMAScript is run by a group of people called TC39. So this is a non-profit organization based in Switzerland, and probably in the Alps, in the mountains. Maybe not. Maybe just in an average WeWork building in Zurich. Yeah? So TC39 is a group of people that they decide what's the next thing in JavaScript. Yeah? In the past, TC39 had some controversial ideas. I think yesterday we mentioned a few of them. Yeah, we're talking about dates, why the month of the year started in index 0, but the day of the month started in index 1, things like that. However, thankfully, especially starting from 2015, TC39 it's an open group. In other words, you can, if you search TC39, you can find out, you say ECMA TC39, anybody can propose. Actually, I actually clicked on the wrong link. If I go back, so there is a project on the TC39 group called Proposals, where if you have a nice idea and you believe that with that idea you could improve the language, you can submit it, and then here you can track what people from all around the world have proposed, and you can see the stages, right? Stages means, so when you create an idea, it's stage 0, it's like a draft. When a group of experts approve the idea, it goes to stage 1, when the community is stage 2, so the idea gets promoted through different stages. And eventually, on stage 4, means TC39 approve your idea, and that means that on the next version of ECMAScript, that idea will be specified with all the details, so all the browsers will implement it. Yeah, we'll talk about different, at least one or particularly one case of a feature that someone at home thought about, and the feature was many years later approved by JavaScript. So it was a project that someone created at home, like Conflicts, not like Conflicts. It was an algorithm that someone created, and the algorithm was so good, and now it's part of JavaScript, which is fantastic, yeah? Because no one needs to download his library, but hey, it's part of JavaScript, yeah? So it's fantastic. It's fantastic. We'll talk about these things. So yeah, talking about TC39, I don't know what I was talking about. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so the majority, most of the efforts on the new version of JavaScript are about being able to deal with JavaScript arrays more efficiently. Yeah, so we'll talk many times about JavaScript. Your ability to become a successful JavaScript developer depends on your ability to deal with arrays. So that's very, very important. Cool. So we got arrays. What about objects? So if I want to display details of a user, I can do something like that. Yeah, variable user equals curly brace, and then I can set up some properties, name, or actually first name, Peter, last name, Smith, age 88 years old. Yeah? An object is obviously a very important data structure in JavaScript, and essentially it is represented by a comma-separated list of key values. You can think that an object is some sort of dictionary. Yeah? Key values. So can anybody tell me how can I access the first name of the user is? Correct, user.firstname. Yeah? Peter. Easy. And can we have an object inside of an object? So what if I got name, first, Peter, last, Smith? Got my point? So can anybody tell me how to access the first name of the user? Correct, user.name.first. Fantastic. And now, Ian. So how can I access the last name of the user? Correct, user.name.last. So definitely an object may contain sub-objects. That's a classic scenario, yeah? Complex data structure, complex nested data. Oh, you see? So now, one of the issues I told you. So now, DevTools crash. One of the things that happens from time to time. So let me open it again. So now it removed the last changes I've done. So this is one of the classic issues dealing with DevTools. Yeah? We may talk about alternatives to DevTools depending on how intense the problems are within the next weeks.
I think it might be in 146.
Yeah, but that's controversial because I rename my snippet, I believe. I call it intro to JavaScript. Not this one. Intro to JS, maybe. Not this one. So why rename it? I don't know. Yeah? Anyway, cool. So yeah, that's actually user.name. Let me go back to the previous example. Yeah, we got name, first, Peter, last, Smith. So as Ian suggested, to get the first name of the user, we type user.name.first. Fantastic. Yeah. So an object can contain another object, and the other object can contain another object. So you got a tree of data structures. And can an object contain an array? So can we get the list of scores on the Codiri platform as a user? Can we do scores? Can we have that?
Yeah.
Of course we can, yeah? If we add the comma, we can do that. So can anybody tell me how to access the first score of the user? User.name.scores square brackets 0. Okay, wait. Stop. All right, wait. So Minji said user.name.scores.0. Ebrima doesn't feel very happy about that.
This first score, you have to remove the name.
It's interesting. Minji.
Oh yes.
So Minji, user.name, so she's pointing to the sub-object, and then she is trying to get the scores. Can anybody tell me what this algorithm will return? I'll give 1 point on the board challenge.
Undefined.
So Adam said undefined. So we got Adam, we got Daniel, we got Ebrima, Minji. Minji and
Oh wait, on the no, I mean until, right?
you said undefined. You are allowed to give a single answer. Thanks to that, you will practice to think before giving an answer. So Ian, where is your money today here? Why not, right? Because everybody said the same, right?
Thinking about the error.
You should undefined.
Yeah.
Cool. So, who got the job? No one. You're all wrong. That snippet doesn't return undefined. Why? Well, user is here. Fantastic. So far, so good. .name is here. Fantastic. We're still alive. But then we do .scores. Do we have the scores property here? No, only first and last. So what user.name.scores will return?
Nothing.
Nothing. What nothing means in JavaScript?
False.
Wrong.
N-A-N.
Wrong. I'm just
No.
talking about user.name.scores. Ignore the square bracket 0. What nothing means in JavaScript? NAN? No. Nothing means undefined. Yeah? We saw the example before when we were trying to access an element of the array that didn't exist. There was nothing. That means undefined. So user.name.scores returns undefined, which is what you all thought the algorithm would return. But your problem was, we are not happy with that we are considering that structure an array. However, it's not. It's undefined. So essentially, we are saying, hey, I got undefined, and I want to get the index 0 of undefined. That doesn't make sense. Undefined is undefined. Undefined is not an array. You cannot get the first element of undefined. So if you do that, it throws an error. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Yeah? Cool. So because that's not correct, can anybody tell me how to fix the problem? Remove name.
No, user not.
You will see that even though many occasions I will know you know the answer, I will try to literally translate what you said into coding. That will help you to prove how good you are communicating. Yeah? If you provide accurate instructions, I will write the right answer. If you don't provide accurate instructions, I will do something silly. Cool, so you're right, guys. That returns the first element of the array. So, of course, an object can contain numbers, strings, another object, another array. And when talking about, again, fruits, we've seen that before, right? So, fruits, apple, orange, and banana. So, can an array be built out of not strings but numbers? So, of course, you can have an array of scores. Easy. Can we have an array of booleans? No?
Yeah.
True, false, true. Yeah. Of course we can. Yeah. Can we have an array of objects?
Yes.
So am I talking about fruits? We can have name, apple, price 1.2. You see? So can anybody tell me how to get the price of the last fruit?
You do fruits.
Yeah.
Dot. Dot line minus 1. Sorry, fruits, brackets, square brackets, and
Second.
-1. And then length minus 1 inside the square bracket. Dot price.
Okay. So what do you think, guys? Do you agree or not with Adam? Daniel doesn't seem very happy. Is it because of the table tennis yesterday? Are you upset? I have no idea. Okay, good. Nice. So, Ebrima, Ian, Minji, thoughts about this algorithm?
Yes.
Yes? Wait a minute. So, yes, you agree?
No, I don't
No.
agree.
Okay, so Minji disagree as well. So, Minji, you want to go first? So, what's the problem, Minji?
I don't know how to get that, but I think with that, like inside square bracket, you have to put fruits dot length, and you have to put what's it called?
Single quotes, double quotes,
Yeah,
quotes.
single-
Okay, so you are suggesting to put fruits of length and then the quotes where?
Actually, you don't need to.
Yeah.
No, that's correct.
Now it's correct. Ebrima, what do you think?
We're trying to get the price.
Yep.
So I would say it's
Yeah, that's what I say.
the lost price or we're trying to get the lost price
Say it again?
or we're trying to get the lost price.
I don't know.
We get the price of the apple, or which price are we getting? The apple one. Right?
The question was, let's try to get the price of the last fruit.
Or the last fruit.
Yes? Let's, first of all, that's correct, guys. That's correct. Yeah? Why? Fruits, that's the area of fruits. And then we want to access a single fruit. Which one? The first? No. The second? No. The last. How do we get the last fruit? Fruit of length minus 1. Yeah? So then, essentially, we're pointing here. Our cursor is there. Yeah? Then easy. We just need to get a property of an object. The price. Fantastic. Here you go. Okay? What will happen based on the first attempt from Adam? What will that return? Definitely something weird. Cannot read property price of undefined. Why? What's the value of length? Do we have any variable called length? This is the same as typing Brexit, yeah? We don't have any variable called length. So length is probably undefined. What undefined minus 1 returns?
The error that we had before.
No. You showed that yesterday on the funny talk about JavaScript oddities. Undefined minus 1 returns not a number, N-A-N. So fruits of index not a number, that doesn't really make any sense. Yeah? That does not, and the index should be a numerical value, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But fruits of not a number doesn't make any sense. So definitely that will return undefined. So once again, undefined.price doesn't make any sense. You saw before we did undefined square bracket 0, that failed. Likewise, undefined.something, it will fail as well. Yeah? So that's clearly fruits.length. Yeah? Any questions? So, as you can see, we've got multiple data structures. Next week, we will talk about arrays quite a lot. We will talk about map versus for each, find versus filter. We'll talk about things like give me the first fruit, which price is above the threshold, give me all the fruits that start with a capital letter. We'll talk about this sort of filtering use cases scenarios next week. Yeah? For now, I'm going to talk about something else just to finish this workshop, functions. JavaScript is a functional programming language. That means that you are expected to create functions. A function is just a basic structure. It looks something like that. Function sum, that's the name of the function. So then you pass two variables, x and y, not two, you can pass none, 1, 2, 3, 40. Yeah? You pass a list of arguments, and now you do return x plus y. Yeah? That's a function. So how do we deal with the function? So you can do the result is sum 4 and 5. Yeah? That's a function. Does it make sense? So when we call sum, we will invoke this function, and whatever the function returns will be displayed. The result is 9. Okay? Let me introduce you a very important principle when talking about coding, not just JavaScript. Debugging. Debugging means that the code is not working as expected. So there is a way to inspect the value of your variables after each line. It's very easy to play with debugging on DevTools. The only issue is it fails a lot. But let's see if it works today. To enable debugging, you just need to highlight some lines. You just need to click on some line numbers. See, I highlighted line number 3 and line number 6. Why? Because as soon as I run the snippet again, if Google Chrome is in a good mood today, it will pause the execution on these lines. And that will give me the chance to analyze, first of all, to see the execution flow, which line runs first, which line runs second, and then to evaluate the value of the variables I'm dealing with. So a classic question I'll be asking you until the end of the bootcamp. Can anybody tell me the execution flow? Which line is executed first, which line is executed second? Only talking about the highlighted lines, 6 and 3. So what's the execution order? 6 and 3. Do you agree or do you disagree with Ian? Ebrima, Minji? No? Ebrima, 3 and 6. All right? So, Ebrima, you're wrong, I'm afraid. And the reason is, the function won't be executed at all until, exactly, until it's invoked. Yeah? So we invoke the function here. So first of all, mind that this is the Jubilee line. These are the stops on the Jubilee line. Yeah? So if you come from Canary Wharf to here, so that will be Canary Wharf, and then we'll jump to Canada Water. Yeah? That's the way it works. So if we run it, oh, that's bullshit. You see? So now Google Chrome has decided to change my breakpoints. So you can ignore that. That's completely pointless. And now I cannot add breakpoints anymore. Yeah? This is what I told you before, that, you know, why I cannot add breakpoints anymore. It doesn't make any sense. So if that happens to you, and something you can do is try to, first of all, save your progress. The next thing is kill the window. Back to Chrome again. Personally, I will suggest you to try again on incognito mode, because sometimes the extensions you got installed may have some negative influence on your snippet. Open again, inspect, and essentially start again. Yeah? Hopefully your snippet got saved. So let's have a look. No, you see it didn't got saved. Thankfully, I save it into my clipboard, so I can paste it again. You see, that's pretty inconvenient, but that may happen in a job interview. So I think it's important to have the ability to deal with the unexpected. So I'm adding the breakpoints again. Let's see if it works this time. I have no idea if it will work this time. Thankfully, this time it works. Yeah? That's the way I can prove it wasn't my fault, because I didn't change anything. I just restarted DevTools. Yeah? We'll see in the future. We'll try to see, hopefully, a different way of dealing with the snippets. But at least in the short term, that's the most appropriate one. So as you can see, now my code is stopped on line number 6. The snippet is not over. It's still work in progress. If I click instead of, if I don't run the snippet while it's running, because Google Chrome will go crazy, unfortunately. So if the snippet is running, you need to click on the resume script. Yeah. So if I click on the play button again, it's like a video. The video is paused, so I want to play it again. If I click again, pop, you see? Now the execution jumps to line number 3. And as you can see, I'm like freezing the time. I'm freezing the time. I can evaluate the value of my variables at this particular stage of the journey. Yep, does it make sense? So now, if I play again, I will get the result. The script is over. Any questions?
Ricardo, sorry, so you select the lines.
Yes.
And what do you Where do you click after selecting the breakpoint?
You click on the line number.
Yes.
That's it.
Where do you click after that?
No,
To see the line.
okay. You need to you click on the lines and then you need to run the snippet.
Oh, so you run
Yeah, of course.
command.
I'm running the snippet all the time.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you run the snippet, you click on the play button,
Ah,
and it goes through the different stops on the UVD line. Yeah, that's the way it works.
yeah.
So the last exercise of the workshop: can a function call another function?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Let me present you a problem. Imagine that instead of two numbers, we got an array with two numbers, 4 and 5. We know the array has two numbers. So my idea is sum receives how many arguments? 1. It's just an array. You can call it numbers if you want, yeah, for readability purposes. So in reality, I want to sum the value, the number on index 0 plus the number on index 1. Yeah? However, I'm going to make it a bit more complicated by creating a function called getFirstNumber that will receive numbers and will return numbers 0. And likewise, I mean, this is overcomplicated. You'll never do that in real life. This is an example, right? You create a second function, a second number, that will return numbers on index 1. So, now my question is, can anybody please complete this exercise?
Can get first number and then like number, no not brackets.
What's the name of this symbol, guys? This is American. I don't think you use that here in the UK. The parentheses. Parentheses what?
No, not and then you put numbers
Like that?
plus no yes outside plus get second number and then parentheses and then numbers.
What do you think, guys? Say it again? Yes, you pass an argument. What you put inside of the parentheses, that's the argument, or arguments. A function may receive multiple arguments, of course. What do you think? Do you agree with Minji or not? So Ian agrees with Minji. Adam, Daniel, Evrima. You think it won't recognize what?
No, it's okay.
It's okay. Daniel? Okay. So, to me, it's very easy to prove if you understood it or not. So, for instance, Daniel, can you tell me the execution order?
To be 14,
Yep.
and then it would be 11,
Mm-hmm.
then 3 and 7.
Okay. What do you think, guys? Adam agrees with Daniel. Ian, Evrima, Minji? Yeah? You're right. Fantastic. You prove you understood the problem. That's fantastic.
The only one thing I wasn't sure about is why we have, so on the third function down, we have
Sum.
get first number, that one.
Yep.
We have get first number and there are numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have numbers in the parentheses?
Because to get the first number, the function needs the list of numbers. If you don't provide it, how the hell that function knows how to get the first number? You need to pass the data to the function to get the first element. If you don't pass the data, what will that return? Let's remove the arguments. Can anybody tell me what will this algorithm return? There is 1 point in the board challenge for the first person to provide the right answer.
When you have a function name and only the parentheses, are you not calling the function?
We are, yes, we are. When you use the parentheses, boom, call the function.
But the function, this is one a little bit confused. So the function at the top
Yep.
already has numbers in the parentheses.
Yes.
So when we invoke it,
Yes.
are we not just simply saying look for numbers and then return number 0?
Error.
Look at what Minji said. Why error?
Because on the first, like, get second number, like those functions, it's you're trying to find the 0 and first index is undefined, so it's going to return error.
Minji is right. Get first number expects a list of numbers. Once it receives a list of numbers, it will return the first one. However, are we providing the list of numbers to the get first number function? No. Look at the parentheses, empty. What's the value of numbers here? Correct, Minji. Numbers is undefined. What happened when you try to do undefined square bracket 0? Correct. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Yeah? In other words, if I add a breakpoint on line number 3, look, numbers is undefined because we are not facilitating that data. So how do we fix the problem? Well, passing the list of numbers. So numbers is a local variable. We need to keep passing it all the time. Otherwise, it will stop working. So if I add a breakpoint on number 3, can anybody tell me what the value of numbers will be on line number 3? Correct, Adam. You see, if I stop the execution of my algorithm on line number 3, numbers will be an array with 2 values, 4 and 5. And that's why now the algorithm should be able to resolve the problem, because get first number will return number 4, get second number will return number 5, so then the sum algorithm will return 4 plus 5, which is obviously 9. Okay? So that works okay. And back to the breakpoint problem we discussed before. So Daniel suggested that the order was, if I remember correctly, 14, 11, 3, and 7. And that's correct, because first of all, yeah, we don't run any function until we call them. Yeah? So first of all, the first function to be executed will be sum. That means the flow will move from line number 14 to line number 11. That's it. And now, which method do we call next? Get first number. So we jump to line number 3. And then we'll get the control back to 11, but immediately we will call get second number. I missed the breakpoint here. Oh, I did another breakpoint. Anyway, then we will stop on line number 7, and eventually we will return the result. And that's it. Questions? Anything else? No? That's the way you start coding with JavaScript. So my suggestion is, whenever you want to play with a new data structure, you want to try to understand how a variable works, just follow these steps. Yeah? Go to Google Chrome, right-click, inspect, sources, snippets, curly braces, and then write some JavaScript. You'll learn faster. Yeah? That's particularly important when talking about the Codery platform. When you are dealing with a JavaScript exercise and you don't know how to solve the problem, I think it's quite convenient to park the problem and go to the tools and add breakpoints and try to find the answer to the JavaScript issue. Yeah? Thank you very much, guys.